As a Glen Powell fan, I'm really excited for all these movies that he's in. He must be making a killing. With that said, let's talk about how to make a killing. Hey guys, AJYT Abbott here. Welcome to my review for the new A24 film starring Glen Powell and Margaret Qualley, along with Ed Harris, Jessica Henwick, and Topher Grace. How to Make a Killing. And this review will contain spoilers right off the bat, so if you guys don't want to be spoiled for what happens, if you want to know whether he gets the inheritance or not, whether he manages to kill all of his in-laws or not, not his in-laws, his relatives or not, sorry, yeah, this will be spoilers. So, yeah, there's your warning. So this follows Beckett Redfellow, who is told, of his mom's story, how she had, gotten herself pregnant, and she's a part of this big rich family, the Redfellows, and once they found out that she had a baby, with a guy that, she wasn't even married to, had him out of wedlock, then she was, banished. And Beckett loses his mother, and years later he realizes that, hey, I could get the inheritance because if I kill off one or two guys and I, start making my way down further and further down the line, build up some trust with some of these people and get them, in a good position, I can kill them off and get that inheritance. Meanwhile, his childhood crush, Margaret Qualley, is coming back into his life. She demands a loan from him. She knows that he's a part of that Redfellow industry, they're the family, and she notices, as he's taking down all these other people, and the Redfellows like, hey, this guy is the one doing this, and I'm gonna try and get a piece of my inheritance, of his inheritance. So she wants money out of it. There's a subplot where it kind of becomes, more major, but he kills one of these guys, one of his cousins, and his wife, played by Jessica Henwick, falls in love with Glen Powell, and he vice versa falls for her. And it is pretty tragic because in the end, I mean, it's realistic. He doesn't end up with her after she finds out everything that she did. She fucks off. Like, she gives him this locket that he left behind that it has a lock of his mom's hair in there, and doesn't even say a word to him once he gets out of prison. She just leaves. And that's fucking realistic. I would believe that after all that shit. Yeah, I would 100% believe that she would not want anything to do with that guy. It's sad though. Throughout the movie, he's, killing these people off in some wacky ways, whether it is, blowing them up, whether it is, the first guy was like an easy-ass kill because he was drunk off his ass, and he just ties an anchor and ties it to his foot and then drops into the bottom of the ocean. That was pretty funny. You have Topher Grace's character he manages to kill, which honestly, Topher Grace is like a cameo in this movie. You're seeing, Topher Grace and Ed Harris in the trailers, and, I'm not stressing this, I can't stress this enough to you. The stuff that you see of them in the trailers, those scenes, they are the only scenes with them in the movie. You get one scene of Ed Harris at the start telling his daughter, you're out of the family, and then later on you get the confrontation between him and Beckett, where he initially gives Beckett the opportunity to kill him, but then Beckett's like, no, I'm going to go back to my engagement party with Jessica Henwick's character, and he finds that the doors are locked, and Ed Harris tries to hunt him down. He inevitably gets killed. Beckett manages to shoot some arrows into him and kill him, which is a nice callback to his childhood, where his mom taught him how to use a bow and arrow. That was nice. Margaret Qualley's character eventually gets enough evidence to say, hey, I got some pictures and some videos of you being in here in these, exact same time, this time frame within the murders. And it all comes down to Margaret Qualley's husband, who she's like, oh, he's a terrible husband. He doesn't, bring the money like I hoped he would. So I'm going to get the money out of you. And in the end, she gets Beckett to give a loan to the husband. The husband is so depressed that, he knows kind of Margaret Qualley's, over his shit, and he kills himself. And since Beckett was in there that specific amount of time, and because he had his fingerprints on this letter opener that the guy used to kill himself, they pin that on him. So Beckett gets in trouble in the end. He gets locked up for that. They don't actually find out about the Redfellow killings, but even though they have pretty much a lot of evidence to say, yeah, you have done all that shit. Or they might have, actually. I'm not sure. There are a few plot details that kind of get lost within the story, because the time frame, I don't know how much time passes in this story, but it's apparently a lot, because there's one scene at the beginning when Glenn and Margaret are talking, and then, a couple scenes later, she calls him and he's like, you remember a year ago when we talked? I was like, it's been a fucking year? God damn. I like the uncle character. Beckett kind of bonds with his uncle character. He's like, I don't have the heart to raise a hand against my uncle. Even though I want this inheritance, I really can't harm the guy because he gives him a place to stay for a little bit. He gives him a job. So I mean, what more could you want, really? Um, so that was a bit sad when he dies. That's like the only sad death out of all of this. I wish the kills were a bit more elaborate, and the ending just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth because obviously Jessica Henwick's character fucks off. She doesn't want to be with Beckett anymore. And then after she has blackmailed him, pinned this murder on him temporarily, got him locked up, got him in a lot of trouble, and then even though she does break him out in the end because she shows the suicide letter to the FBI and says, "Hey, he didn't kill this guy." So yeah, they did let him out, on that guy's death. They didn't find out about the Redfellows. They just found out about this guy that he, killed himself, and they thought it was Beckett that did it. So he gets off scot-free thanks to her, but still at the same time, she blackmailed you. I didn't like that. I was like, fuck that. After all she did, you're gonna be with her? Screw that shit. But anyway, I'm gonna give How to Make a Killing a 7 out of 10. It was teetering towards an 8, but there were just some story issues I had with it, some of the pacing. Not really lining up to, how much time has passed. I was confused on how much time has passed throughout the movie. I wish the kills offered a little bit more, even though I know this was never pitched as a gory R-rated comedy, but I did want a little bit more out of it. The dark comedy does work. The random cuts after he kills someone to just their funeral is hilarious. This is honestly more stylistic than The Running Man, which was helmed by Edgar Wright, so make it make sense. Why was this better than that? But anyway, I want to thank you all very much for watching this review. Let me know what you guys thought of How to Make a Killing down in the comments below. I'll try and watch Wuthering Heights and still get a review out for that maybe sometime this week, but I don't know, because I've got Scream 7 and an Oscar video to do. It might not happen, but I'll at least talk about it at the end of the month ranking. So, that's going to be it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Take care. Goodbye.